first reading last week. Reviewing that error, it benefits our ratepayers to revise the rate model and therefore revise our rate ordinance brought forward for first reading this evening, because it will result in a net decrease in our customer rates. We want to benefit our community and acknowledge the integrity in our service provider, demonstrating this change to us, and also acknowledge to our community the price sensitivity that all ratepayers may be experiencing this at this moment in time. So in the slides before you, I have demonstrated with red track changes, those changes that will occur in the customer rates. The effect being a net increase of customer rates will be no more than 1.5%. All other factors that affect the solid waste rate, specifically our garbage rates, will remain the same in the next rate package. And how that reflects on the customer rates of our commercial customers is slightly lower garbage rates, and demonstrated in the revised strike-through in red figures before you this evening that benefits our commercial customers to lower the rate and bring forward these revisions in the revised ordinance. In addition, it will decrease the net impact to our typical single-family customer. The decrease will be to 0.8%. Previously, that was 1.6%. So the typical single-family customer in Vancouver will see their rate adjust in their monthly bill by 32 cents per month by affecting this change tonight. And all those revisions will be prepared and brought forward in corrected public hearing slides next week, presented by my colleague Will Elder, in corrected fashion. So this is not a typical rate adjustment that we have to do where we're making corrections, but again, to acknowledge that it's a complex process and we want to bring transparency to that process for both our community and council. We can be available to answer any questions as well, if you have any.
Julie, could you go back to his 1 plus that for just a moment? Okay. So recycling is actually dropping?
Recycling collection and processing costs will be declining next year by 13 cents from the current rate that customers are paying right now. So that benefits them.
All right, Councilor's question? Councilor Harris.
Yeah, thanks for presenting all those changes. That was really helpful. I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of share about how convoluted that process is as far as what's within our control and what is not. And then also, that contract itself, I know there's requirements in it for some of these increases, like per, our obligation to the contractor. So again, it's like where we have ability and where we don't, and then also that connection to that larger disposal contract and how those are not within our control at all.
Yeah, I will go back to this slide, the factors that affect solid waste rates, because this can capture overall. Our rate model is complex. We have over 298 rates and fees that customers can be assessed, that is residential or commercial in the city. And this is because we want to give our Vancouver ratepayers options. They can customize their services, the service level and the volume based on what they generate, and to incentivize diversion. So this is consistent with Council's vision for climate action framework as well. But when we prepare our rates packet, we began in July, and it's a complex process that staff are tracking the details, including the factors that would affect rates, such as an inflation adjustment factor, which is a blend of the consumer price index and fuel indexes. We saw fuel decrease and the CPI increase, but know that for our community as well, that the contractor does not get a full pass-through of that blended consumer price index with fuel. This is to prevent an overcompensation by part of the index, the CPI index. The second sub-bullet garbage tip fee, this is one that's not fully within the city's control, but is really through a disposal contract, which we brought to council to approve last year and implement fee adjustments every year as part of an annual process. And that fee, that is the disposal cost, will increase by 1.4%. While modest, it does affect our rates that our customers pay, and we do have to pass that through. It supports having robust transfer stations, operations that are safe, capital improvements at those facilities, and responsible disposal of that waste as well. And then there's the city fee that is embedded within the garbage rate payer. This funds our solid waste program, our staff, and those additional services that we're providing outwardly to our businesses, our residents, and our neighborhoods. In order to maintain those high level of services to our community and those benefits that we give them, we do need to have some of the city fee come back to us for the customer rate. There's also a utility tax embedded within the garbage rate, that's 28.9%. And that does affect the cost that customers pay. And staff do evaluate the impact of utility tax on the garbage rates as well. And in our slides next week, we will break that down into the individual component costs. But lastly, the point to notice is that the city is not in control of all the fees. The processing fee, right now, that's where we sort our recyclables for strict end market standards. That's also set by the county and set by a regional contract. And that does impact our customer rates because we do pass through that fee to our customers. But in all that we do, we try to prepare this information and be available to answer customers' questions and help provide that assistance to support them and field their questions and explain to them, as well as the service provider. They are responsible for answering customer questions and making sure that customers have the tools and information they need for the services that they're seeking. And I will just close out by saying that if we do not pass on rate adjustments that our contract calls us to do, the service provider is not kept whole. Those are local workers, local drivers in our community every day on our streets, a call center that is staffed locally within this region, and we require that with our contract, local jobs and coworkers in our community that are serving our community to provide these services. And so that's a careful consideration that we must make when we consider passing on rate adjustments, is whether or not they are impacted by a decision to approve or not, a request for a rate increase.
Julie, next week, would you also bring the information from the neighborhoods? We do have all of the annual cleanups of the neighborhoods, and we've been hearing some incredible numbers, both in yard debris, metal recycling, and tons of garbage that neighborhoods are pulling out of the alleys, backyards, and everything else. So we should be just about wrapping up all of those neighborhood
Cleanups, yeah, we just concluded that season and our team is preparing for a bright new season in 2026, and we'll be happy to share those stats.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Could you also bring back any information you might be able to find on, is there any correlation or study that's been done on the costs or the raises of fees for disposal of garbage based on also the amount that is being disposed of illegally?
Illegal dumping. Yeah, we can do our best to bring back statistics or information that we have related to what the city pays for, specifically our solid waste program.
And maybe also a piece that could get to that would be, is there, are there people that once they see that, a rate has increased, that we're actually seeing a drop in customers? If anyone is opted out of having their garbage picked up?
Yeah, our customer census will provide that information, so we can evaluate the customer census and bring any findings that we find for council. Yeah.
And final question, I was listening to a podcast of one of our elected representatives, and they made a statement that folks would be more inclined to do more recycling if they had to always haul their own garbage and recycling to a recycling center versus having it picked up from their yards. I was wondering if you have any information to confirm or dispute that type of basically removing all residential pickup from
Collection services.
Yes.
I have to say that runs contrary to what I would say is the subject matter expertise that I would recommend. At this point in time, it's more efficient to have fewer vehicles, even personal vehicles, delivering materials to the transfer stations than if everyone did, right? We do not have enough transfer station capacity to serve everyone's individual needs. Right? But we can provide a summary for you as well if you like.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Seconded by
Carlos?
Arlis. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. We'll see you next time, Julie. Thank you so much. That concludes our consent agenda, the business. We move into communications from the council. Councilor Harris.
Just wanted to, I heard an update today about SNAP maybe expecting half of what they would normally get, is the latest news that I've heard. I saw that the city put up a web page with some resources, so I just wanted to thank staff for doing that. I think that's a great first step, and we need to really be out there looking at our neighbors and those that are vulnerable in our community, making sure they have the nutrition that they need. It's a really difficult, hard time right now, and people are not gonna be, if they even get any SNAP benefits, it's only gonna be half. And then we don't know what the following month is gonna look like, and then WIC would potentially be affected at that point. So just wanted to highlight the latest, because it's a rapidly evolving thing. It's putting a lot of people through a lot of just uncertainty, not knowing where their next meal is coming.
And thank you to the businesses that have also stepped up. I know we have several restaurants, including Bonnie over at Blue Door, who can come right up and just ask for the SNAP meal without any questions. And she's just wonderful. Thank you.
Yes,
Diane, go ahead.
thank you, Councilor Harless. Along the same lines, most of you have known the walk and knock that we used to have to help with the food drive. So now that has transitioned to a drive and drop format where people bring food and toiletry donations to one of 16 drop sites rather than having folks pick them up from their porches. So knowing that that drive and drop for folks who want to participate is Saturday, December 6th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It was the walk and knock, so now it's drive and drop. So you bring non-perishable food and toiletries. You can donate at walkandknock.org. They still have that website available. And you can also do donations left at Riverview Bank branches, the Schwab Tire Centers, at Costless Auto Parts between December 1st and 15th. So I believe we have some flyers that were dropped off for us, city managers, so we can put them on front resources. So thank you to all those volunteers who are doing that, and to businesses who are stepping up to help in this chaotic time. Many of us are going to be impacted one way or the other, whether we're on WIC or SNAP or not. And so this is a community-wide effort.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Fox?
I don't have anything to say.
Counselor Paulson?
Pass.
Counselor Henson?
Pass, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Counselors, we lost two very strong community members, Paul Christensen, who has been instrumental in our at Houck Elementary, but also just in the entire arts and music world for decades and decades. And then Bill Dickey passed also. So Bill worked in a number of different programs throughout, not just Vancouver, but Portland. So keep those families in your thoughts. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I did have one topic that I wanted to raise with the council tonight, just to assess your level of interest in making a pivot on one thing that we've been doing. And that's really related to the way that we've been doing our community forums. The last community forum we had, and really with the last several ones that we've been holding, we've been seeing a decline in attendance. We've had cases where council was not able to fully participate, and we've seen a rise in some behaviors that have really given us pause as far as some safety concerns. And in looking at it from the staff side, we'd like a chance to take a little bit of time to think about how we're holding those, where we're holding those, whether or not we're actually meeting the council's original goals, which was to get out into the community, attract audiences to interact with the council that didn't customarily come and interact with the council. And I can't sit here and say to you right now that we have achieved those goals with the way that we're doing it. And so I just wanted to see if the council was interested in putting a pause on that while we see what we can do to potentially reboot it and get it back to, I think, what the council was really intending to do with that.
Counselor Fox, go ahead.
Sure. I really appreciate you coming to us with this. I'd agree. I mean, we were pretty excited about the forum idea when it was first launched, and I know we had, we tried, I feel like the first year we tried about 5 different formats, and all of them had a pretty good turnout that first year, and it just seems, I agree, that it just keeps dropping in the number of people that seem to want to come to these different locations all over the city. So we're still doing all over the city, but we're just not seeing as much of folks, I guess, interested in attending. It could be the night, it could be the time, it could be a lot of things that I'd appreciate. I really would appreciate staff looking into a little bit more. But also, I would love to hear some new ideas. I sent staff some ideas recently, but there's like just to throw out a new idea I saw another city doing, which was it was a walking forum. Like they just said, hey, meet with your council member and take a walk with them. And so, I think we could mix it up too. They don't all have to be, walk and talk with your council members, but I think we could be meeting them where they're at, I guess, as well, versus having our own forum. That might be some ideas to throw in the mix.
Councilor Chris?
Maybe some thought on bringing back some time for community, what's it called? Yes, community communications. Maybe just looking at how that's set up today and see if we can make room to bring some of that back. Now that we have a way to manage behavior, we can consider some of that.
Councilor Harris, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the beginning really excited, really good turnout. What I would really like to see, which you've already kind of started to mention, was real measurable outcomes, and that we are tracking and measuring that, whether it's successful and how to reach success and what that might be. The original idea was to City Hall may not be a place that is accessible to everybody, whether it's their transportation or where they're working or living, and so the opportunity to be throughout the city was wonderful. And so I don't want to lose that, but I'm definitely open to ideas because we haven't seen that attendance, and I know we've done a lot of work to try to reach people, and we had really good attendance that first year. So whether it's some sort of, I've got lots of ideas, I'm sure we all do, so happy to talk about those at another time.
Councilor Hanson, did you have any comments?
Looking forward to hearing the city manager's recommendation.
Okay. All right. Any other comments, city manager?
Just a question. I think our next one is actually scheduled for later on this month, the week of the holiday. And so I didn't know if you wanted to skip that one or continue with that one as originally planned. But if we were going to put a pause on it, we'd likely need to bring something back to you next week so you can take official action to do that with as much notice to the public as possible.
So Councilors, I believe the question is, November 24th is the week of Thanksgiving. Would you like to have a forum on that, or wait until the city manager and staff bring forward some recommendations? Councilor Fox, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, we have a community forum already established in November here in City Hall. Is it on an agenda? No.
Not yet.
No.
I think we should keep it and just see through the year.
I know when we were setting dates, I had some reservations about this one and was trying to move it to a different day. So, because I think attendance will be very poor. So I'm leaning towards, it's a great opportunity then for staff to dive in earlier than later on what, forums might look like in the future, rather than going with a model that we know is not working right now, which takes a lot of staff time, both financially, as well as their actual time to strategize for this next potential generation of forums.
Yes, Councilor, go ahead.
Certainly when it comes to opportunities to hear from the community, more is better. And so reluctant to take something off of the calendar, but I think, as has already been acknowledged, what we're doing now is not working. And it will also be a week in which an already diminished amount of engagement will be even lower, predictably, given the holiday week, folks traveling and otherwise spending time with family. And so I would reluctantly agree to pause and not hold this one this month, with the hope that we could use the time that would otherwise have been dedicated to organizing that event to do the work, city manager, that you've already committed to doing, which is to study alternatives and bring back a plan to achieve our goals differently. And I do applaud you for raising this issue because we're a learning organization. We did make these changes with a stated objective. We're not achieving those objectives, and so we need to understand how we can achieve those objectives differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hanson, the question in front of us right now is to continue with the November 24th, I think that's the Monday, the last Monday of Thanksgiving week as a forum, or put that to the use of discussing forums with the city manager and staff.
Mayor, thank you. I agree with Councilmember Perez. I think we should have it and continue, see how we can refine it. Thank you.
I do. Councillor Fox, I'm sorry, what was your decision?
Well, I was asking for clarification, because if we don't have an off-site forum, we should have a forum here. So add it to an agenda and have our regular, longer meeting with a forum at the end of the night. I don't feel like we should cancel our monthly forum altogether.
All right, so city manager, I believe, you have a 3-3, so we will continue to have the forum on the 24th. And, but let's see if we can squeeze in some conversation there about the process of forums and the purpose of forums and such, whatever staff comes forward with. Councilor?
Clarification. So the pause would start in January.
We didn't set a date for the pause. What we're doing is, the
Okay.
question right now is, do we have a forum this month? And the answer is yes.
And then
The other piece is that the city manager will be working with staff on the entire concept, purpose, and logistics of all of it, and we'll bring that information forward. We did not discuss a policy.
okay, I interpret it as a pause regardless whether November or January, so that you can come up and then, wanting to try to bring it in November, but regardless, I interpret it as needing to just pause. And while we pause, we could do that after we do the November community forum. That's how I'm
Yeah,
interpreting it.
and I was looking at it whether, because we only have our council meetings scheduled to the end of the year, this is the last one remaining for 2025. In December, we have to bring to you the proposed slate for the council meeting dates for 2026. And some of that is going to be influenced by the use of the Aspen room while this room is being renovated. So there'll be some changes that we will have to make anyway. But council, depending on where we're at in our conversations, you could certainly elect at that point to decide when you wanted to start reconvening the community forums, looking at the overall schedule throughout the entire year. So you'll have a chance to look at the 2026 kind of prime calendar for those.
For the community forums.
Council meetings, all the council meetings and the forums. We schedule all of those with an approval slate of dates for the council meetings for the following year.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of confusion on my end, but it could just be me.
And I would say, obviously Councilor Fox and Councilor Harless have ideas about ways that we may be able to increase community engagement and get back to achieving your original goals. So if you've got any of those, feel free to filter them my direction, and I'll make sure they get to the communications staff.
Yeah, and I think part of, and my point was, don't exclude all other options, which one is to perhaps bring back some more time of community communications.
Okay, city manager, any other items?
Not tonight, Mayor, thank you.